Welcome to this presentation of the Rotary Club of North Bethesda, Maryland, USA. Our club was established in 1974. We meet every Friday morning at 7:45 a.m., and we often invite guest speakers to give presentations on all kinds of interesting subjects. Please contact us through our website at nbrotary.org. And thanks for watching. Our speaker today is Dr. Abdel Kadry. He will be introduced by North Bethesda Rotary Club member Bob Sanawane.
I would like to introduce, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Kadry, who is a professor at University of Maryland in the School of Public Health. Dr. Kadry has a DVM, that is a doctorate in veterinary medicine, as well as PhD, and he's also a board certified toxicologist. He's a diplomat in the toxicology field. Dr. Kadry is graduated from Cairo University, and he had USDA as a scientist, manager, as well as he was with the US EPA, ran a huge program at the US EPA, retired last year, and he teaches at several universities, actually, the Cairo University, University of Cameroon, as well as also University of Maryland in the field of toxicology. In addition to that, Dr. Kadry has been a mediator. I didn't know this part, that he has been doing mediation with the federal government, with the employees, and with the federal government, as well as some other organizations. As a voluntarily, he's doing it for several years with a board certified mediator. And so I thought, given the conflict that we see around the world and locally, as well as in the families and so on, he's a great dispute resolution, if you want to call it. With that, Dr. Kadry.
Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Let me start really by thanking you very, very much for your kind invitation. And today I will share with you some part of my activity, which is a hobby and also a community service. I do this part for the last 12 years. I started as EEO counselor, and I moved after that to be mediator. And currently I am a lead mediator in shared neutral, which is a part of the federal mediation and the conciliation services. So today I will talk to you about the conflict and the role of mediation. So if we look at the definition of conflict, it's a competitive or opposing action of incompatibles. So from the definition, really, it doesn't mean something bad. So conflict could be something good or it could be something bad. So it could be positive conflict or negative conflict. For example, in the workplace, if you have two teams competing, this is positive conflict. Or if like people working in the same project for different approaches to reach better results, these are very positive conflicts. And really it will increase productivity and also it improve customer service and so on. However, there is other side of conflict, which is the negative conflict. Negative conflict can has a business impact and it can has also a health impact. Let me stop here for a second. Is my speed okay? Can you understand what I am saying, everything?
Can you?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So I can continue. So what is the negative impact of conflict on the workplace? It can increase the turnover rate, reduce the morale in the workplace, increase sickness absence, failure of team project, increase violence and personal attack, decrease productivity, increase workplace discrimination charges, and really it can cost a lot for employment lawsuits. And there are some figures that any suit in average can cost any organization over $125,000, and it takes about 275 days to reach a settlement. So it's a very costly thing. The adverse health effect of conflict will lead to stress, and this stress will lead to more conflict. So it really is a vicious cycle. Stress, there is acute stress and chronic stress. Acute stress increases blood pressure and so on. Chronic stress can lead to anxiety, depression, migraines, and a lot of health problems. Let us look at global time spent dealing with workplace conflict. So, for example, in United States, it's about 2.8 hours per week. It's spent in this on average. Okay, it's spent on solving workplace conflict, which is really a wasted time. If we try to translate this time, 2.8 hours per week, which is full day of productivity per month, is about 2.5 weeks productivity per year, on average about $358 billion in lost salaries per year, which is a huge cost, really. There is a federal agency, it's called the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Commission, and I'm sure all of you familiar with that, which is responsible for enforcing the federal laws that make it illegal to discriminate against the job applicant or employee because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or genetic information. And any organization, any company, 15 employees or more, are subject to the regulation of EEOC. However, for age discrimination, it has to be 20. The federal government really, it's working in a different in a different track, but this is all like private sectors. If we look at the workplace discrimination charges from 2012 to 2020, and this is really, if you look about 2019, 72,600 cases a year, and this does not include the federal government. Of course, in the 2021, they went down a little bit because of the COVID, because most companies, people work remotely and so on. But the good news is this is really going down somehow. So there are improvement in the workplace. If you look from 2012 until now, the trend is going down a little bit. If we try to analyze the charges, what is the basis for people complaining, for people submitting discrimination charges? The main cause really is retaliation. About over 55% people said, okay, we are retaliated against, which it gives you idea it's a conflict. Then disability, race, sex, age. However, it goes down to the national origin, color, religion, equal pay, all genetic information is a little bit, but the majority between retaliation and disability and race and sex, which it's a really, it gives you indication the whole issue is a conflict issue in the workplace. This is how much it damages in million dollars has been offered to the victim due to EEO cases. Like for example, in FY20, we are talking about 106,000, and this is only in the federal court. It does not include any other courts, and does not include also the lawyer charges and so on. There is an organization. Let me stop for a second. Can you see me very well? Can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. There is an organization, it's called the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Services, which started really created in 1947. And really it provides mediation and the conflict resolution for the industry, government, agency, and the communities, which I am part of this organization. Let me take you quickly to the federal EEO complaint procedure. When somebody file a charge, EEO charge, that I am discriminated against because of retaliation or sex or whatever, there is two stages, something called the informal stage, which is the first month. In this stage, they offer what's called the EEO counseling. There is an EEO counselor, and the EEO counselor will work between the aggrieved and the management, like shuttle diplomacy. Talk to the aggrieved alone and talk to the management alone, and you try to solve the dispute. Also, during this informal, they offer by law, they have to offer to the aggrieved of the complainer the option for ADR, alternative dispute resolution, or mediation. Are you willing to go through mediation? If the aggrieved say yes, the management is obligated to go through mediation with the aggrieved. If there is a mediation, so this period could be extended up to 90 days. If the conflict is not resolved within 1 month or 90 days, the agency is obligated to give a letter to the aggrieved that now he or she has the right to file formal EEO complaint. Then within 15 days from receiving this letter, the aggrieved, if he decides, he can file a formal EEO complaint, and the agency should investigate the complaint within 180 days and conclude everything, conclude the investigation within 360 days. Then the agency will notify the aggrieved for what the findings, what the agency judgment there, and the aggrieved has 1 month to accept or reject the agency offer. And if he rejects the agency offer, he has the right to go to hearing in front of administrative judge at EEOC. Then the administrative judge will give the final decision. So it's, as you can see, it is a very lengthy and costly process. So if there is a mediation there, and if the complaint can be resolved on a low level, will be saving a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of stress for everybody. So it's really the ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution, this is really started in the federal government in 2000. And by law, each agency, they should offer this kind of service to their employee and so on. So what is mediation? Mediation is a facilitated negotiation with the assistance of a neutral party, which is the mediator. Principle of mediation: confidentiality, neutrality, voluntary, okay, autonomy. The party has to decide for themselves. Okay, creation of mutual understanding, creative and dynamic process. It should be fair, and the party should achieve a shared agreement. It should be transparent. It should be, the mediator should be a very honest person. He has to disclose to all parties how much money he took, if he has any bias of any interest, and so on. There are several types of mediators. There is what's called a social network mediator, which like somebody really familiar, they has a relationship with the parties, and it's not necessarily impartial. Like he knows them very well, like somebody in the family or something, and everybody respects this person as to be fair. So can be a mediator. Then you have three kinds of what is called authoritative mediators: benevolent mediator, administrative mediator, and the vested interest mediator. Let me concentrate a little bit on the vested interest mediators. An example of that, like Henry Kissinger, who when he tried to mediate the peace in the Middle East, or President Carter, when he was helping the Arab and the Israeli reach agreement. This is called the vested interest mediator, because there is like interest in the United States to have a peace in the Middle East. So somehow they use some sort of leverage, pressure here, pressure there, so to make the party able to reach an agreement. In any kind of mediation, the agreement should come from the parties. The two sides, or if more than two sides, they have to agree on the outcome. But this is but here is like a tools really. Then you have a last kind called independent mediators, which is neutral, impartial, and really have no authority at all on the parties, but it tries to help them to reach an agreement. And that's what we are doing in the shared neutral of the federal mediation and the conciliation services. Let me take you quickly to the history of mediation. It's a very, very old practice. It really goes back to ancient Egypt. There is some papyrus that early about 305 like BC, that is the court was directing to people to mediation. And of course, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and the many indigenous cultures, mediation is there. People usually practice mediation. Let me take you quickly on the formal mediation, like the formal mediation as we know it. A very quick history. In 1913, the establishment of the Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor create the Commissioner of Conciliation, which is later in 1947 became the Federal Mediation and the Conciliation Services. On On the private side, in 1926, creation of the American Arbitration Association. In 1964, establishment of Community Relations Services, CRS, and so on. And since 1990, the alternative dispute resolution has expanded in US court systems. Let me take you quickly to mediation to some countries around the world. Start with China. China has the biggest number of mediators in the world. It's 4 million mediators. It's really bigger than lawyers and judges and so on. They have what is called People Mediation Committee, which all over the villages and cities, which any civil disputes, they help people to reach an agreement. And but when it's a legal issue, usually it's done by judges in the court. When it's really like criminal or something big, will reach the court. Philippines and Sri Lanka. In 1978 in Philippines, there is what created what's called Barangay Justice System, which is a nationwide system of mediation and arbitration to solve all civil disputes. In 1988, Sri Lanka also established mediation board of commission. They trained with the assistance of United States about 6,000 mediators. In the Middle East, Jordan passed the civil mediation law in 2006, and there is a similar occurrence in Dubai in 2009. They established the mediation center, which it's a part of the Dubai court system. South Africa have a long history of mediation. It started in 1968, creation of Center of Intergroup Studies, which is now called the Center of Conflict Resolution. In 1980s, establishment of Independent Mediation Services of South Africa, IMSSA, to handle increasing number of labor conflict and so on. And also in the 80s was a lot of creation of large number of ADR organizations. There are common mediation styles, facilitated, evaluative, and transformative mediation. Everything okay? So in conclusion, mediation really is simple and the quick way to resolve the conflict, because the resolution to conflict is created and accepted directly by the parties involved. It's usually sustainable. Okay. The mediation environment aids in the development of communication channels and the mutual understanding of among parties. I stop here and I thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kadry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
We have some questions here, Dr. Kadry. Can we ask those now?
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Stop sharing your screen, please.
Stop sharing?
So I have a question.
No, please.
What?
Yes.
Okay. Before 1980, you show this year a lot. This mediators existing. You said it's from Plato time for probably Hammurabi time. This people exist. What their name was before mediator, how they call. Is it?
Yeah, the mediators, they were always there for thousands of years, okay? But they never call them mediators. It could be say in the Islamic world, in the Arabic world, it could be imam, okay? It could be imam, a community leader, the respected elders, okay? The priests, the rabbi. So they do mediation, but they call them by their titles, by their original titles. But the mediation are always there. Is this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know it's a secretary, you know, some visitor. Yeah, there are people exist before with a different name.
Oh, absolutely. And still, because still in many countries and in many cultures, there is no really the mediator as a profession, but other people do this activity.
May I ask a question?
Please.
There is an established structure in the world for mediation that's always been there, more or less, a function that is no longer as appreciated as it used to be, and it's called diplomacy. You know, a country has diplomats, and the primary requirement for being a good diplomat is that you have empathy. You're able to take into account the legitimate interests of the other side. Now that is falling by the wayside pretty much because parties increasingly seem to believe that all right is on their side. And why, if they have the power, should they be listening to the other side? Just bully them and make them do what you want. That's just about the opposite of mediation. So what I'm saying is that perhaps one good way of boosting what you're referring to as mediation is to defend the role of diplomats and to educate, to have this empathy without which you will have conflict.
Exactly. Thank you. Absolutely. I agree with you.
I have a question,
Sure.
Dr. Kadry.
Yes, sir.
What is your understanding of the meaning of the word compromise?
Yeah, compromise, and we always in opening in any mediation session, we will say, you are here today, okay? You came today to negotiate, and sometime you will be able to compromise, okay? Compromise here, give something and take something. So you may not get in mediation what 100% you want, okay? But you will be able to take 90% or 85% and so on. This is my understanding to compromise. You may not, like you will be able to give something and take something.
Okay, with a win-win situation, that means both parties feel like they're winning.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
I said, is that means the compromise means that both parties feel they won something and not one is giving up the other.
Yeah, you know, that's why that like I do mediation like 2 times a week, really. And sometimes we can spend 7-8 hours. And in the beginning, like each side have really hard position. And the more people talk to each other, the more slowly the layers of the onion, it's open. And the problem is analyzed slowly. And the people usually able to compromise, okay? Give something and take something and so on. And in any mediation, both sides has to agree and has to accept, like you as a mediator, really, you don't propose anything. All resolution will come from the parties themselves. You are just helping them to reach resolution.
I suppose one side says to the other, you're a killer and a brute. What does that do to the possibility of compromise?
Yeah, you know, I tell you for my like myself, okay, myself, I have success rate about 70% of mediation cases. Okay. But also I am extremely patient person. Like I never give up. Like I let them talk to each other for a long time, sessions after session. We do also something called the caucusing. We meet with each party confidentially alone, try to understand from where they are coming and so on, what is their position. So at the end of the day, there is big chance they will do some compromising, they give something, take something, or in some cases, each party has their own position and they refuse to compromise.
So, Dr. Kadry, thank you for a wonderful talk. I feel like with the idea of empathy and the idea of compromise, I think the world could be a lot better place because there's nobody out there that has a corner on all the good ideas. It's impossible. So, with that, I would hope that we can all go forth into this wonderful world of ours, make the very best of it that we can, and we will see you here next week. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.